Hi there guys, I'm Himesh, and as you can tell by the title of this video, I've got the new VW ID4 for the weekend. So first and foremost, thanks for Vindis VW for lending me this for the weekend. I've got quite a lot to get through this weekend, so let's see how I get on. I've only ever known internal combustion engines, or would have filled up a full tank of diesel and done all the errands that I need to this weekend. I need to go to the tip, I've got to go to London, and then I've got a wedding up in Wolverhampton. So let's see how I get on. So first impressions of the car, it's a big car, practical, looks kind of cool, and yeah, let's see how everything else lives up to. First thing actually is, I'm so used to cars being, I guess you just dump into a normal car and you think, right, it's a car. Whereas this feels like it's trying a little bit too much to be an electric car rather than a car. You'll see what I mean as the video goes on, and if you ever jump in one of these cars, you'll see exactly what I mean. It's trying a little bit too hard to be too different and to say this is an electric car. And yes, of course, from the ID3 it's like the third iteration of Volkswagen itself. So I get it, and it's trying to be very different, but maybe in my opinion it's a little bit too different, but maybe that's just because I'm so used to having a normal car. One thing I really do like though is this new key. Now I'm not quite sure if this is going to pick it up with focus, but it's a nice gloss black key, so much better than the old matte black plastic key that they used to give you with VW. So yeah, let's take a look around the car and we'll take it from there. So now that we've had a good look around the car, let's give it its first true challenge and take it to the tip. So I've got quite a few cardboard boxes you can see here, some random other stuff, some paint samples that I really need to take to the tip, so it's good that I had the car. So let's get it all loaded properly and we'll give it its first true challenge and take it to the tip. So everything is super easy to load in the car, massive boot, super practical, job's a good one. So now I just need to give it a quick vacuum because it's not my car, and that's the challenge done. Morning. So it's about 9:45 on the Sunday morning and the car needs a charge. Yesterday was a bit of a fail because I went down to London to go meet some friends, have some dinner. There was advertised at the restaurant underneath, isn't in the car park, it was advertised that there was charger ports, so I thought, right, go to London, charge up the car while I'm eating. And then I'll have enough charge to get me to Wolves today. Didn't work. The Polar network was utter terrible, it was, to put it nicely. You needed to have a tag registered beforehand in order to charge. There's no on-the-go charging, and because I've only got this for the weekend, I haven't got an electric car charger port at home. So I have had to wake up early this morning, charge up the car, and yeah. So right now I'm sitting in the Morrison's car park. Morrison's is not even open yet, charging the car. But the positive was seamless experience. I researched ahead of time which charger port this was, so that was the Genie Point. Let me just check it was Genie Point. Yep, I was right, it was the Genie Point. So I made an account online last night before I went to bed, and yeah, registered. One thing that I would say is a slight annoyance about a Genie Point is you have to top up a minimum £10 at a time. So Genie Point, now I've got, I get it's £10, yes, but slight annoyance, you can't just pay for what exactly you use. You have to top up minimum £10 at a time. So if I never use a Genie point again, they've got some of my money. Again, it's £10 minor, but it's £10 is £10 nonetheless. So that's one slight annoyance I have. But saying that, it's got a 50 kilowatt charger. Perfect. So it's telling me now I'm on 37%, and the car is set to default to charge to 100%. I'm not going to charge it to 100% because I don't need 100% of battery, and naturally I've got to go to a wedding, so I've got to go get there. I don't need 100%. Charge it to 80%. It's telling me I've got 1 hour and 5 minutes left to charge to 100%. It's not telling me how many miles I've got of range as yet, but I'm currently at 38%. Actually no, it's telling me I've got 108 miles. So Wolves from where I am is around about 120, I think, 120 miles. So I'm going to charge it to around about 200 miles, get to the wedding, charge up for a bit there, and then come home. So one of the things I'm finding so far with electric vehicles, the vehicle itself, the car itself, do you know what, it's actually quite a lot of fun to drive. I'm not much of an SUV person myself. I'm much more of a hot hatch or a saloon guy. But because of the low centre of gravity and the instant torque, it's actually, yeah, it's a bit of fun in the corners. So I'm not saying it's quite as fun as a hot hatch, no chance, but it put a smile on my face, to say the least. A couple of times at lights, you pull up to next to people, you think, yeah, you could probably do this. So yeah, there's a couple of tear-ups at the lights last night, but it is what it is, isn't it? But yeah, no, all good so far, can't complain, apart from the charging network. There are a few annoyances with the car, but I'll get to them in a bit. So the car is telling me I've got 1 hour and 5 minutes left to make it to 100% charge, currently at 42%, which has given me 118 miles of range. One thing that I would say with this ID4 is the range is only displayed on this. Why can't they display it on this as well? And likewise, I'm expecting to find a little bit more information on this, but it's very basic. You have to be distracted by this large infotainment system every time you want to find some stuff. Now, that may be me not being searching through the menus properly, but that's just one of the annoyances I have right now. So whilst I'm charging, I thought I'd have a quick chat about this, well, the drivers, whatever you want to call it, the dials. Let's call it the dials because whilst it's not a physical dial, it's a digital display. But the information which you can see on this is very, very limited. So it's literally, from what I can see from the settings, is look at either the road ahead, minimize that a little bit, or just the speed and your range. I guess coming from a more traditional car, you'd say, you'd be able to see your miles per gallon, your the trip distance, etc. I can't figure out a way of how to do this, but again, this is just me. This is what I like to do in a car. I like to be able to see how many miles I've travelled on a charge, etc. But I'm not able to do that so far. Other thing, absolutely not liking these lack of physical buttons. Yes, you get a bit of haptic feedback, but it just feels like there's a little bit of a delay. It just doesn't feel like it's connected properly. Give me a physical button any day. So a couple of things I do like about this car is the infotainment system is very responsive. The only thing is, so I'm 6'2", I sit fairly far back in the seat. Now I find myself getting a little bit too distracted, and it's quite a little bit of a reach to actually access all this comfortably. And the lack of physical buttons, I feel like I'm having to concentrate more trying to press the button rather than, I know with the dial, turn it up, turn it down if you want to go hot or cold, and likewise on the volume. So it's just a slight few annoyances. It's not a deal breaker, you'll get used to it, but I mean, this is my third day in the car, so give it a couple of weeks and I'll get used to exactly how it all works. Ambient lighting, pretty cool, pre-selected for your moods, etc. What I'll do is tonight I will take the car out at night so you can see all this, how it all works properly. So done my shopping now quickly, you can see there. So one other thing that I would say about Genie Point is how easy the interface is to use. I haven't downloaded any apps. It's really simple. Start a charge, it knows, well, obviously enable your location, knows where you are, and it tells you how much you've done after you've quickly added in your car details. Right, so that's the car charged. Now we're off on the way to Wolves. Let's see how it gets on a long journey. So I'm just on the way back from Wolves on the motorway, finally on the M1 from the M6. So I just thought I'd share a couple of more thoughts of how this weekend with the ID4 has gone. So, car is a really nice place to be. I've not really got on with these touch sensitive buttons on the steering wheel, as a lot of people haven't. If I could live to deal with it, but it's not something I would choose to do. Much prefer a physical button. But I guess if that's the only thing that I can really complain about having this car, then it's not such a bad thing to have happen. Now, one thing I'm loving about electric is the instant torque. You just put your foot down and it just goes. It just, yeah. When you're overtaking somebody, you don't need to plan overtakes. I remember one time, of course, this was a while ago. I wrote my car off and I had a 1.2 Punto, and my God, you had to plan overtakes. I don't know how that's legal, but yeah, this is completely, obviously, miles apart from that, but I digress. So yeah, it's a great car. It's a really nice place to be. Apart from having to charge at public networks rather than having my own charging port at home, which naturally will come as and when I do, well, get one installed. But as I was getting it for 4 days over the weekend, it wasn't really necessary to have a home charging port installed. There you go. This person is being stupid and not looking out for me, so you just pull out. Job done. So what else can I tell you about the ID4? So apart from really nice interior, one thing that is really annoying me is the fact that the air vents are mounted so far down low underneath the infotainment screen that I feel like my knees are getting colder than my face. I think it's a bit of an oversight, but they're so far down that your knees get colder than your face. Another thing that's really bugging me is I like to have the armrest down, this armrest right here. I like to have the armrest down when I'm driving along, and I don't tend to put it back up again, but it gets in the way of the seatbelt. When you want to put the seatbelt on, first thing when you get in the car, you have to fish underneath the armrest to put the seatbelt on. Again, a bit of an oversight, but hey, just pull the armrest up after you're done. Another thing I think I would prefer on the ID4 is, instead of having the instrument binnacle lifted straight from the ID3, I prefer it's a bigger car. Should it not have a bigger infotainment, bigger set of dials in front of you? Another one of the things I do like is, it is actually the screen, funnily enough. It detects, because it's got the camera on the front, it will detect what car is in front of you as well, or what type of vehicle. So it will flash up whether there's lorries, even got a motorbike, a different car, just something little keeps you entertained. But naturally, the biggest thing that's keeping you entertained is the instant power and torque that comes with an electric motor. It's only 200 brake horsepower equivalent, but it just picks up and it's just goes. So I'm loving that. A lot of people have said the plastics aren't up to scratch. I mean, they're okay, but how often do you go in a car and stroke your dashboard? Again, it's not the end of the world. It's quite a nice place. Quite a nice place to be, apart from these low down air vents. Another thing I guess I will just have to get used to is the size of the A and the B pillars. Now I'm sitting how I would sit, obviously, to drive, and right in my eye line is the B pillar. So when I'm looking over my shoulder, all I'm seeing is this big black pillar. Not the most helpful, but I guess smaller people won't have this issue. Taller people will definitely have this issue. But again, it's something you just got to get used to. But the size, the chunkiness of this A pillar, I'll put up a picture in a second. It's massive. You kind of have to, I had to kind of look round like that. Again, I guess I'm just used to a different style of car. So, something you can get used to. But yeah, that's about it for the minute. I will do another video when I get home. So yeah, I'll speak to you in a sec. So now that it's clearly night time, I'm just going to go through all of the options that are available on the ambient light setting to properly show what it can do. Now, one thing I couldn't unsee was the puddle light, which reminded me of the OCP logo from Robocop. Every time I unlocked the car at night, I saw that and immediately thought of this scene. So good luck trying to get this out of your head.
Drop it! Dead or alive, you are coming with me.
So yeah, you won't be able to unsee that either now. And if you've not seen Robocop, after you finish watching this video, make sure you go watch it. Classic. So that's my time with the ID4 done. They're coming to pick it up very shortly, so I thought I'd make a goodbye video with the car. So I've thoroughly enjoyed my time with this electric vehicle. So it's done everything I needed to do, apart from the one hiccup, which was charging, of course. But using the InstaVolt system and the other one, they've now removed all of my apprehensions with on the go charging, if you find a reliable network, of course. That wouldn't really happen if I had a pod point or other equivalent at my house, which I will be getting eventually. So electric, 100% the way forward. I mean, I know they're going to phase out internal combustion by 2030. Fine, that's still a while away, and we've got a lot of infrastructure to install before then. There's no doubt that right now it's not where it needs to be. 2030 is going to have to be where it needs to be, because there's going to be no other option. Before, I was skeptical about the range, etc., because I'm so used to just filling up a full tank of diesel and going. We like to do UK trips, so we just fill up the car once, we can drive from Bedford to Scotland on a tank. Definitely couldn't do that in this car, so it would take a lot longer. And from what I've filled up at, it's actually a little bit more expensive than diesel, because on the long run I can get 72.8 out of the Audi A4. On this, I think it was, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was definitely more expensive to fill this up at a public charging point. Yes, of course, and it would be a lot cheaper filling up at home. Fine. So am I ready to get rid of all of diesel cars and the petrol cars? No. When the company car does come in, hopefully it will come in end of December, chip shortage dependent, we'll see what happens. So hopefully by whenever it does come, we will have one petrol, one diesel and one electric in the household. So it'll be a good even playing field for all of them, just to see how they all fare. So if you like the video, hit like, Remember to subscribe and also drop any comments down below. Thanks.